For me, being a father is something way more dynamic, way more driven than the game.
I give all of that credit to my dad. He's taught me a lot of things and how to show up the right way and showcase yourself the right way.
Bronny James, splash!
He's living in it. He's living in the moment. He's definitely carving out his own lane. It's definitely not his dad, and I'm not him.
Putting that Bronny James narrative out there more instead of, just being LeBron James' son is really important for me.
Exactly 21 years ago today, wow, time flies, LeBron James drafted first overall in the 2003 NBA Draft. And in tonight's edition, all eyes will be fixed on his son if and when Bronny James will be selected. Bronny's odds of being a first-round pick currently stand at 10-1 on ESPN Bet. Meanwhile, ESPN's mock draft has a French trio being taken in the top 8. If that occurs, it'll be the first time that a country outside of the U.S. accounted for 3 of the top 10 picks of a draft. This is becoming a trend, folks. Also, 2 of my UConn Huskies projected to go in the top 10 in Castle and Klingen, and they both are something special. Stephen A., those international players, they are coming. I mean, look at the superstars in the league. Tell me this, S.A., who's the most intriguing player in this draft?
Easily Bronny James. Easily. Because nobody's thinking about anything but Bronny James. You've got the 2 projected top 2 picks in the NBA draft being dudes from France that most of us have never heard of. We're not implying that they can play. We're not implying that Bronny James is the player that they have already proven to be. We're not saying that. The operative word here is intriguing. You're wondering where he's going to land. You're wondering why he's going to land the place that ultimately he may end up landing. What's going on behind the scenes? You're hearing the Lakers. You're hearing the Dallas Mavericks. You're even hearing the San Antonio Spurs. That, you're hearing about a bunch of teams, potentially, I should say a bunch, just a few, that are definitely interested. Of course, you've got Klingen and others at UConn. You got a couple of players from UConn, a couple of players, Dillingham and others from Kentucky. You got a couple of players from France. There's some interesting players in this draft. And obviously, from an intriguing standpoint in terms of their capabilities, yes, they're considered the better players. That's why they're going to be lottery picks. But everybody is anxious to see what's going to happen with Bronny James. Is he going to get drafted? If so, where? If they go to a particular place, why? Does these teams believe that they got an opportunity to get LeBron James, who's already declared that he would love to play with his son in the NBA, even though he's backtracked from that to a certain degree? That's all I'm saying here. The operative word here is intrigue. We ain't talking about just basketball. If it was basketball, in terms of talent, obviously that's not the answer to this question. But when you use the word intrigue and you think about the multitude of storylines that come associated with this person, Bronny James, to me, is the most interesting thing going on. We're all waiting to see what happens with his name.
You might be. I am not. He would not even play on UConn past year.
Wow.
He would be on the bench with Danny Hurley's kid. He wasn't better than Newton. He's not better than Spencer, and he's not better than Castle.
Nobody said he is.
Well, hold on now. But you are talking about him as a draft possibility, and he would be the 4th guard on UConn. Newton's not getting drafted. The point guard who won 2 championships. This is a guy who, in a horrendous conference on a terrible team, averaged 4.8 points a game on 36% shooting. I mean, this is on USC. He didn't do this at Duke. This is at USC. I mean, if Bronny James' father was a... No, hold on now, Stevie. If LeBron James is not his father, would anybody care about Bronny James? Well, let's be honest. Let's call it like we see it. I know that's difficult to hear.
We are doing it.
That's a very fair point.
Fair
he would not be even an issue. Nobody would care. His father is the reason there's intrigue. That's the only reason.
Time out. But that's what I'm saying. I'm not denying that. I'm not going to disrespect the kid. I'm going to remember that there was a cardiac arrest last summer and that he didn't play until January. I'm going to remember, I mean, you're talking about the dude like he's 100% healthy, came into college and did absolutely nothing. No, he almost died. He was out for half the season. He comes in January. I'm not saying that we saw something and, oh, my God, this guy, his credentials on the basketball court is worth it. But in the same breath, you do have to take that into consideration. You also have to take into consideration the fact that LeBron James is his father. And LeBron James is still playing. And LeBron James is about to approach free agency. And LeBron James has declared he would love to play with his son. And on top of it all, the Lakers with the 55th pick, you know, who knows what they're going to do just because LeBron James wants them to do it. Who knows what the Boston Celtics are going to do at the 54th pick? Who knows what Dallas is going to do? Who knows what a team with bigs where the focus on Embiid or Jokic in terms of having a big where your offense goes through, you can afford to take a chance on a young talent that's known for that believes that have some level of athleticism and prioritizes defense and what have you, and they're looking at the upside and to bring him along. I'm saying, yes, he has not proven himself on the basketball court on a collegiate level. And yes, if he were not LeBron James' son, we would not be talking about this. But the fact that he is, and with LeBron James having said what he has said, that's what makes it interesting. And we can't forget, as much as we want to sit up there and talk about the lack of the credentials, let's at least acknowledge the kid almost died. God, thank God he's still here. Cardiac arrest, and he's out. And then he comes back in January. We're acting like he's been 100% healthy, no issues, and was just riding the bench like Stephen A. or somebody. No, that is not what happened with Bronny James. Bronny James almost died, and he recovered from that. We got to remember that and put that in its proper perspective.
Listen to what he says and the way he talks. He's very impressive.
Great kid.
And I got to say that last summer, it was in July, when I got that text that what had happened to him, I almost couldn't stand up. It was so shocking and so upsetting because I don't know him well, but I've obviously I talked to LeBron the day he was born. So that's one thing. I think you just to separate that and talk about Bronny James, the person, which I think is worth it. He is intriguing tomorrow, though, Stephen A. Tomorrow, the second round, that's when he's going to be intriguing. Tonight, there's a lot of intrigue. We don't necessarily have a lot of franchise-moving players here, but there's definitely intrigue, especially about a half hour, 45 minutes into the draft when the number 3 pick happens. This will be the most intriguing pick tonight. Houston has made this pick available over the last few weeks. They obviously made a big trade last night with the Nets. We just talked for a half hour about it. Donovan Clingan. Molly, want to talk about a intriguing UConn player?
Yeah. From Bristol.
From Bristol.
Right from where we are.
A lot of teams are interested in Donovan Clingan.
Yeah, of course.
And it'll be very interesting to see if he's taken or if that Rockets pick is traded, because Clingan is a guy who made a big impact and could make a defensive impact right away in the NBA. And also, if Houston doesn't do this deal and just drafts Reed Sheppard. By the way, Reed Sheppard shot 51% last year. He's one of the more intriguing candidates, I think, in the draft the last few years, Doggy, because he's got a very high steal rate. Not a lot of people built like him. He's an intriguing player, too. But the number 3 pick is where the draft starts, and I will be very intrigued with what happens at number 3. That's tonight's story, I think.
Let me say this. See, Wendy, you do what you do. Doggy, a radio host. I'm a journalist. We all do what we do here. What was the question? The question wasn't the first round. The question was the draft. And we didn't say those other players weren't intriguing tonight. We asked who is the most intriguing. All of these weeks, before the season ended, and put Wendy and Doggy up on the screen because I want to just look at me and answer this question in all fairness, fellas. In all fairness, my buddies. Regular season, college season, NBA playoffs, NBA finals, leading up to the draft. Tell me one player that we've talked about other than LeBron James. I'm sorry, Bronny James. Take your time, I'll wait. Who's the person? Who are you talking about? We've been on TV for months, Wendy. Yeah. Now, I know you know him. You went over to France last year.
If you're sticking to that verb, you've got a point.
That's all I'm saying. I answered the question.
Yeah.
I answered the question. That's
I'm just saying you're going to wait a long time for that intrigue. You're going to wait all the way through the night.
I agree.
We're going to have a whole nother first take show. We can talk about it.
We've been waiting. We've been waiting.
I got to say one thing. Sure. Listen, we're going to now throw out Bronny's health. Oh, that's what you're going to do. Well, he had a bad year because he had health in the middle of this. That wasn't the question. The question is, based on his high school career and based on what he produced for USC when he had a chance to produce, you tell me why you would draft him anywhere in the first 2 rounds. Tell me the reason. What evidence do we have
Zero.
And I know you want to bring up the health all you want with the heart issues. That's
no,
number
zero,
one.
doggy. You're right.
That's the
You're
problem.
right, doggy. Zero. But the point is, knowing that, we've been talking about him for months.
Okay.